What is up, y'all? It's Y to the A Yaya today. And I am your host because Moneybag Mitchell is out on vacation, taking a few good R&R days.
Taking some days.
And that voice you hear is the illustrious, bodacious Duane the Tank Brown.
Wow, that was quite an intro.
Oh man, I gotta prop you up because you're gonna be my you're gonna be my Lord and Savior today. You're gonna make me look good. I know you are.
That's what I do. It's my job.
So before we start off, before we get into the grades, because today we are grading the midfielders, and we're going to talk a little bit of MLS playoffs as well. I want to do a little housekeeping. First off,
let's keep the house.
Houses are good. 3 points. First off, we are going to be going live on Wednesdays 9:30 every morning. It's going to be our new show time. If you guys haven't noticed, for the last couple of weeks, this is the time we're actually going live. So just keep that in mind that Wednesday mornings, you're going to get a good dose of Yaya, Duane, and Mitch. Second of all, pineapple deserves to be on pizza. And third of all...
That's a hard disagree.
Yeah. I agree. Thank you. We got super producer Alyssa telling the truth over here. And we got Duane just being a liar. And third of all, I want to give a shout out to the front office. Not the people that make decisions about the football team, but everybody else that works on that football team.
Yeah.
The comms. I want to give a shout out to the graphics, the social, because at the end of the day, we always look at this team and we think everything was bad, but everything around it was really good except for the field, the play on the field.
Yeah. A lot of upgrades this year. So, I mean, the stadium looks better. I still think the paint job, over by the locker room is one of the best upgrades of the season. I know people, we're still waiting on food options and things like that, but that paint job to me, getting rid of the old paint job that looked like meat.
It was a literal meat locker.
Yeah. So if you're a designer and you're doing stuff in Colorado, you're going to be forced to put mountains on everything.
Yep.
Keep the mountains like a nice gray or blue or green, not meat colored, because then when you do the snow, it looks like the marbling in the meat. So high fives to the Rapids for noticing that. And I think it looks really great over there now. But, also like from a season ticket member, standpoint, everybody has ups and downs with their reps, but I've never had a bad rep. So Kyle, has been my rep for a couple of years and always, had a good experience with my season ticket rep too. So a lot of folks over there working really, really hard behind the scenes, even when the play doesn't go well. Poor social media team has to deal with everybody screaming and yelling at them, and they don't make roster decisions. So, yeah, I agree with you. There's a lot of high fives to go around over at the club.
And I get people are not going to be very fond of this take. I understand that,
sure.
and that's fine. But as somebody that we work very closely with a lot of these people, and I'm not talking about the Porix, the Waynes, the very high ups that actually make decisions on the pitch. I'm talking about the comms team. We've been blessed enough to have a really good comms team in Colorado the last couple of years that's given the DNVR Rapids a platform and also let fans actually get more information.
For sure.
They don't get to decide which information comes out. They don't get to decide any of that. They just do their jobs, and they're really damn good at it.
Yep.
And I also want to give a shout out to the writers out at their website. They do a great job of doing all the writing. And I want to give a shout out to the broadcast team, the radio broadcast team with Cape and Crookham, because I think they've done a great job. And I think those are fair flowers to give. And it's
for sure. And then you've got Mike and Drew and Jordan, putting together all of the video content before, during, and after games. We've mentioned the graphics team. Saul is new to the club. He's been doing a good job this year. Tegan, who is always helping out with the events, and she's been one of our main contacts at the events we do here. at DNVR. Man, there's so many names and we're forgetting a bunch, but all the people that are just doing the heavy lifting that, the worker bees that you don't always get to see because there's a lot of things going on behind the scenes, off the pitch. Again, the comms team. A lot of people scream and yell about the comms team on Twitter, especially about the short, Porig interview number 1. Yep. That was short. And I think we all agree, yeah, it was short. It was weird, but they made up for it, and they went not only a much longer one, but went overtime on that one to make sure everybody's questions got in. And like you said, it's they've always been upfront with us when they can. A lot of that information that comes out is above their heads, that they can, you can see when we talk to them, when they look at us and it's just like, I can't tell you anything.
Or even if like they don't know anything sometimes. And they're just like, I just don't know. And that's in this, I'm trying to put this out there for everybody that knows. We work with these people very closely. Mm-hmm. We consider a lot of them to be our friends. But that doesn't mean that they're not good at their job and they do really good really good at what they do, and they deserve the credit they get.
Absolutely.
And I just think it gets lost in the whole hoopla of this team is the worst it's ever been probably. And I think it's very hard to like look at the people that actually make things run and look good for the most part.
Absolutely.
And I just really wanted to get that out there. I've been wanting to give him a shout out. If you guys don't know, Omar is the reason we have a DNVR Rapids show, because he messaged me and he said he saw me with the Rapids kit and he said, "Hey man, we'd like to do a Rapids show. We'll give you some guests." And thanks to him, we get to be here.
Yeah, we exist
and do all this cool stuff with you guys. But enough flowers. Now we're gonna grade.
That's a good way to start. Start with a little flower action.
Yeah, I think it's well deserved. And since we're gonna get into these people, we're gonna really into the players. We're gonna really dig deep and make them feel bad.
But now we're wrecking everything.
Yeah, so like we got to build it up to wreck it off. And we're going to start off with our midfield grades. Today we get to do all the midfield grades. Ooh, look at that nice graphic. I wonder who made that.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yahya.
That looks like a Duane creation.
That looks like a Yahya to me.
All right, so with our grades, we have a producer Alyssa looking for our grades right now. Producing is hard, guys, as I do that on a daily basis. It's not an easy thing to do. All right. No, you're good. All good. So let's start off. First, we have Cole Bassett. He got a B. Connor Ronan got a B+. Ralph Priso got a C-. Sidney Tavares got a C-. And Danny Leyva got an F. Overall, it averaged out to be a C. How do you feel about that, Duane?
I think that's pretty accurate. I mean, we came up with it, so.
Hey, but it is an average of you and me.
I think it's a good and fair average. I mean, sound off in the chat. Last week, the chat disagreed with us on a bunch and agreed with us on a few. So, if there's any that you think should be higher or lower, drop it in the chat and let us know, and we can have that discussion. But yeah, I think C overall is. I mean, it's hard to really get above a C for any group, on this squad. And that's not going at any players or anything. It's just like, hey, we're second to last in the league. Yep. I don't know how high these grades can be. Yeah. It usually, when you're in school, if you're second to last in your class, you probably don't have even a C.
Yep. That's completely true.
So these could be generous.
And I do feel like they were a little generous, if I'm honest with you, in some of them. And I feel like we were very harsh in some of them as well. But I want to start from bottom up. I want to start off with Danny Leyva. Your grade for him was an F.
Correct.
My grade for him was an F, which averages out to
an F.
I was going to say something completely different. Good thing you stopped me, because I do that. I like Danny. But when you look at Danny Leyva, what did you see that made him earn that F? Because he earned it. He got his playing time.
Yeah, not much. I mean, that's the problem, is he wasn't invisible in a good way. Mm-hmm. Like we talk about like a Keegan. You don't always notice Keegan because he's just doing his thing. And that's what Keegan needs to be doing. And he's just undercover making it happen. And so you don't always notice it because you're used to it. But with Leyva, Leyva came in and you were real big on Leyva.
Yeah,
I remember we talked because I didn't know too much about him. And when he came in, it's, it was like, okay, here we got a new guy. We're trying to, fill up some of the holes. But I feel like whether or not he had joined the squad, the results are the same. I don't feel that there was really any impact from that loan.
I see that. And we have Brendan Plone in the chat, friend of the program, saying that he should be higher, at least the D, because he came into a young team on loan, made the Pan Am roster, and was solid in spurts. Wouldn't say he'll be back. I totally agree with you. And I thought about giving him a D. But kind of to what Duane said, he was completely invisible. He was brought in to maybe not be a key piece, but at least be a piece to help. And he didn't even help, really. And and this is not saying that, I don't think he's going to be good in the future. This is me completely saying, this year he just wasn't good, and that sometimes just happens. It just happens, and it's okay. And maybe he just didn't fit the roster and what was needed for this roster. So
that could be it. I mean, it could just be fit. You look at, I'm looking at stats here, and I'm looking at pass percentage with Leyva's, 78. And I'm looking at who's worse than that. And there are some, one of them is, Marcanic, and his is pretty low, but then he went in and got on the right squad and was playing really well in St. Louis. So it could be a fit thing as well. You know, it's not a skills thing necessarily. It's more of a fit.
Yeah, and again, I see where Plone is coming from, that he was decent in times, but it was just, to me, it wasn't enough to turn him a D. It kind of felt, and it felt like it was towards the end a lot where he kind of started clicking, and it could just be Chris Little knew how to utilize him.
Yeah.
And it kind of turned into this thing where hey, I'm failing this class. I need to hurry up and try to get a passing grade just to get through. But at the end of the day, I think Leyva is a D. One thing I do want to ask you about Leyva is, if you had to do it all over again, Chris Little as your head coach, and you saw that last little bit of spurt where he was a lot better, a lot more concentrated, does that change your grade at all if he did that throughout the whole year? Or is it just still
well, he's better. So, I mean, yeah, he would have to change, I mean, the question is, I don't think it's a loan to buy. I can't remember what his situation is. He should be going back, but I don't know if the club is really going to push too hard to keep him.
I wouldn't. Why would
No.
And at the end of the day, I think if he played the way he played the last 5 games of the season, I think he might be a D for me. Because even then, I don't think it was enough for him to actually be a full on even C. I don't think he was average. I think he was still pretty below. The next one that we have on our grades is Sidney Tavares. This is one where I felt I was very generous. The grade we both gave him together was a C minus. That's what it averaged out to. The reason it became a C minus is because you gave him a C, and I gave him a D. And I thought a C minus.
I'm an easy grader.
You are. I was. The reason is, and this is so mean to, and I know I'm mean about it, and I'm so mean about Sidney. It's just not what the club needed, and it felt like he came in and he didn't do much either. And part of it was he did get injured very early.
Yep.
But I just don't think Sidney has it to be a part of the squad going forward. When you look at him, what did he see this season that bums you out, and what do you see that gets you excited?
Oh man, I'm not even the right one to ask for this.
I really wish Mitch was here because Mitch is a Sydney guy.
I know Mitch is a Sydney guy for sure. I mean, I don't know what the minutes are, but I feel like he didn't get a lot of playing time, for me to really be able to assess him. I know we put him on the list, but he was kind of the ones on the fringe of, do we put him on the list or not? Because he was so new and coming in. So I don't know if I can give him a fair grade, and that's probably where the C came in. Is it's almost like an incomplete, where it's and we'll talk about forwards next week, but it's I feel the same about Navajo, is that I need to see more, and I need to see pieces around him that work better with him.
So
It's hard to grade him, you know?
And I completely see that. He is a 22-year-old kid.
Yeah.
He's just like Cole Bassett. It was on loan, and it's a loan to buy. The reason I added him is because he played 5 games. And to me, it was like a player that played 5 games is enough to see enough of him to see where he's going to kind of be. Maybe not fairly, but it's enough to kind of see what type of player he is.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, he played 5 games, 0 goals, 0 assists. And I think they were 0-5 during those 5 games. Or like 4-1-1 or something like that. Or 1-1-4. But Sydney, the reason I gave him a D and not an F, because I thought he played horribly. If I'm honest with you, I just thought that he wasn't a part of it. The reason I gave him a D was because I saw a little bit of potential. He had spurts where I'm like, oh, I see why they brought him in. I see what they were trying to do with him.
Yeah.
It just didn't. Maybe he didn't have enough time to mesh with the team, and that's why I gave him the D, because I was wanting to give him the benefit of the doubt. Because if I'm honest, it's probably an F. But that D to me comes in because I saw enough spurts. I saw enough things where I'm like, maybe next year he becomes a guy. Maybe next year he's a guy that we're all in on and we're super hyped on.
Yeah, he didn't get a lot of minutes, so he got 300 minutes. So
yeah, again,
that's hard to
actually grade him.
To grade on that. I mean, he barely had more than Gersbach, who we didn't even put on the list last week because he had so few minutes.
That's true. I decided on Sydney. That was one of mine. That was one of my choices. And again, I wanted to talk about Sydney because he's one of actually the bigger moves that happened this offseason. So I thought it was fair enough to actually bring him in. And because
sure.
This is not just grading. To me, it's not just grading Sydney a little bit. It's also grading Porig on bringing in Sydney. And it's unfair to Sydney, but it does have something to do because your price tag is part of who you are. For sure.
Yeah, decision has to be made.
So, all right, the next one we have is, I think it's Ralph Priso, right? Mr. Ralph. And we gave Ralph a C-. And there's another one that Duane, what grade did Duane give him? Let's see. Duane gave him a C. So that means I give him a lower grade than that. And I'm a Priso guy.
I tell you, I'm an easy grader. So
yeah, I'm pretty harsh, guys.
And I used to have to grade exams.
I can't wait till I become a teacher and I'm grading your kids. And I'm going to just tell your kids, I know your parents are helping you. Do they not know this? But with Ralph Priso, kind of same thing that we saw with Danny. He improved a lot more towards the end of the season. You saw him make better decisions, and you saw him be a lot better.
Yeah.
What was the moment that you're like, oh, Priso might still be the guy, might still become something? Or was there a moment where you're like, oh, Priso's not the guy?
I don't know if there's a specific moment, but the thing where, so I was a big Priso guy.
I think we all were, honestly,
yeah. I'm pretty sure we all were. I'm still not out on Priso by any means. And I think the glimpses that give me hope for Priso is that when he does flash, he's super gritty. Like, he's a very gritty player and he'll do the dirty work, and like, when you have a season like we had last year where it is at the bottom, somebody's got to do the dirty work, and get in there and have that dog, and try to get after it and be a little aggressive. And when we see flashes of that from Priso is, I think, where we see his potential. It's just, it's very inconsistent, so it's trying to figure out what's the consistency with his play and what's the pairing. Is he going to be a bench guy? Is there some way that we're going to try and get him more consistent minutes as a starter? And so much of this is up to whoever's going to be the coach, and what that style is going to be and which guys he gravitates towards. But for me, it's the inconsistency that drops him low. Mm-hmm. But there's that kind of grittiness that also frequently ends up in a yellow card. But that's what I need from the Rapids. Like, I'm fine if we're a dig it out and have to just play to a one goal win. Like, I'm good with that if it works. And to do that, you have to have those trench guys, and I think that's who Priso is.
It's so funny that the reason I asked was of The reason I asked if you had a moment where you thought Priso was the guy and then a moment you thought he wasn't the guy was because I have two very clear moments.
Yeah,
that
you have a
were
better memory. You're like half my age.
Yeah, but I do too many low-level drugs, according to Mitch. When it comes to, and it was the Nashville game in Leagues Cup. You remember how horrendous he was there?
Yes.
That's kind of the first time in my head I'm like, oh, Priso might not be him. Priso might not even be an MLS player at this point.
Yeah.
That's the one.
I forgot about Leagues Cup.
Yeah, Leagues Cup was fun, wasn't it?
Leagues Cup was so good except for the R part in it.
Yeah, that's very true. And then we also had weather delays when Toluca came, so we couldn't even have fun with that. It was stupid. But regardless, especially in August, what the hell? Like, get your shit together, global warming. But that Nashville game, remember, he was so bad. And I'm just like, this dude does not have it. He might just not be an MLS player. He might just have to go down to a lower league, like more minutes.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good thought.
Like,
you know,
it was a fair thought at the moment.
Yeah.
Like, it was bad. And I've been a Priso truther for a long time. We all have. And we're like, he might improve. He might get better. Give him some time. But where I kind of shifted back to like, oh, there might be something was the Portland game where they came back and I think they lost 3-2, was it? But it was such a gritty, like, try to come back. And I thought Priso played such an important, integral part of that because he really locked down that midfield and really stopped anybody from really pushing forward and really getting between the lines. And I was like, oh, so that's where Priso should be playing. Yep. And it really felt like Chris Little Priso and Fraser Priso were completely different players.
Yep.
And at the end of that Portland game, I remember thinking to myself, a midfield of him and Ronan and then Bassett at the 10 might actually be really fun. And you remember, this was before Bassett was playing that double 8 where he was pushing forward and then dropping all the way back to help defend. So for a while there, I started to dream about a kind of a homegrown midfield, like a semi-homegrown midfield between them three. And I thought it would be really exciting because of the grittiness that Priso brings that I don't think neither Ronan or Bassett bring in that same aspect. That physicality more than anything. Yeah. Because they are gritty, but they're just not physical. And we also have Brendan Plone in the chat saying, it was like you saw a dog only... It was like we saw the dog only after he woke up from half-season nap. Much better down the stretch. C- is fair. And again, that was kind of the Chris Little thing. Then we also have B-Ray
saying the same thing.
Yeah, under Frazier, Priso's an F. Under Little, he's a C. Recency bias, we give him a C because we believe in him. He's young. So I think that's fair. But we're gonna take a quick break and we're gonna have the main homie Duane tell us about one of our favorite sponsors.
Oh man, folks, if you've heard it from us once, you've heard it from us more than once, because we talk about our homies over to Legal Pete's every show. They are one of our favorite sponsors, and man, what's not to say about delicious Illegal Pete's? Even when Mitch isn't here to talk about his secret tips, we can all think about those delicious afternoons in the sun, on the patio, maybe inside Yaya. I don't know.
With a burrito.
But there's a burrito, maybe a buddy, maybe a beer. Maybe that's their tagline. And maybe you hit all three. The Pete's trifecta of burritos, buddies, and beer. We love them. We love them so much. As you remember from last week, there's a new promo with Illegal Pete's. Any game that you go to, any event, bring your ticket from the event over to Illegal Pete's and you'll get a free drink. That's crazy. Free drinks just for bringing a piece of paper. It's the perfect time. The Avalanche are back. Nuggets are back and dominating everything that is basketball. Time to just watch sports with your buddies is back. Become the MVP of your watch party with Illegal Pete's. From a case o queso to burrito boxes and party margs, they've got you covered to fuel your crew. Again, bring your tickets from your games. Head to Illegal Pete's before or after any ticketed event and score a free Heart House margarita or draft beer with their Soundcheck promo.
Sometimes I do think that illegal pizza is losing money, and then I remember, oh no, we all eat there every day. We're okay.
Yeah, DNVR I think is keeping them in business. No matter how many house margaritas or draft beers they give away with this awesome promo, don't worry, we'll keep them in business because we're there all the time. So get to Illegal Pete's. It's your go-to spot for everybody knows the trifecta: burritos, buddies, and beer.
Also, if you're watching us right now, please give us a like live on YouTube. We really appreciate it. Also want to give you guys all a quick reminder. This is also a podcast that you can hear in all podcast platforms. Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, Google, anything you like. We are available in every place. So we really appreciate it. And also subscribe to our channel. That really helps us out quite a bit. All right. The next two players, we're going to talk about Duane's new favorite boy in the club. Duane's
it's one of my new favorites. I don't know if I have a favorite yet.
I feel like he's going to be your new Jack.
He might be.
It really feels like he has that Jack.
I feel like the Rapids are trying to make him into the new Jack.
It feels like you're also loving it.
My heart is still broken.
It does make sense.
It's not. I've got a Jack Price-sized heart in my hole.
That red hair is not a
heart in my hole in my heart.
You got a heart in your hole? Love that for Duane. You should probably get that checked out at a doctor,
I'm going to go get a physical.
Yeah, that'd actually be smart. Next man we have is, if you haven't guessed it already, it's the man with the heart in his hole or hole in his heart. It's Connor Ronan.
Connor Ronan.
And we ended up giving him, I believe it was a B+.
I think we got a B. Yeah, B+.
So, see, I struggled with this because I'm not known, but I think I am probably one of the biggest.
You're the critic of Connor Ronan.
I criticize him the most, I feel, than most people. But the reason is because I see a lot of potential in him. And I want him to be the best player possible. And I think at the end of the day, he doesn't get an A because of his defensive issues. I think offensively, the guy is a stalwart. He's really the guy that can push the ball forward. He's great at breaking the lines in that midfield, of just pushing it. If he gets it from Maxu, Bombi, whoever's in that back line, he's quick to turn around and find the open guy. Great. Love that. That's exactly what the Rapids need on the offensive end. But defensively, he also lacks so much, and part of it is because of that physicality. Mm-hmm. He's not a big guy, and it's okay not to be a big guy. Jack is also not a big guy. Mm-hmm. But what Jack had is that he was great at positional awareness. He knew where to be on that pitch at all times. He knew exactly where the ball was going, and that's because he had a great IQ for the game. Now, he's also way younger than Jack by 5 years?
Yeah, he's the same age as Jack when Jack got here.
Exactly, and Jack had the same issues when he was coming in, right?
Yep.
But that's my thing. The B+ to me is fair because he was the engine of this team for a long time. But his defensive woes to me were just too noticeable, especially again in Columbus. I think it was that first goal that they gave up. It was because Ronan was out of position, left, the guy attacked the right, and he wasn't able to recover fast enough, left Maxu out in an island, and a screamer right outside the box. Great goal, well deserved by Columbus. But a lot of it is also because of positional awareness, where it doesn't help out. And that's the thing where I had to knock him down a bit.
Sure, I think that's all fair. I think the problem. I think I think the fans would give Connor Ronan an A, just on lovability. They love the new guy. All of the things that are great about Ronan are his engine, how fast he is. He makes up for lack of size with ankle breaking. That dude burns a lot of people, and it's really fun to watch.
Of course.
On a team that has not been very fun to watch, when there's little moments, because you're not going to watch very many goals at all this year. You have to watch for
the little
just little things,
just
guys getting burned, and Ronan was a star in that category. I think the reason that Ronan struggled a lot on defense is that he's not a defensive mid.
He's an 8. He's a
yeah,
pure 8.
yeah. And so I think if the Rapids are able to find, a true 6 and have that person back there to cover the heavy lifting of defense in the midfield, then that opens Ronan up to be what he is. There's so much change this season in position and who's playing this week versus next week, that I think a lot of times we saw Ronan trying to cover for those, for those holes on the pitch. And so he became this guy who always seemed like he was just running around crazy in the midfield. And it's like, what is he doing over there?
No, it's
like you're
true.
so out of position right now. And I don't think it's because of a lack of awareness that he doesn't know he's out of position. I think, and I don't know Connor Ronan at all. If I had to guess something about his personality based on watching him play this season, other than just being, just all in on the game, it's that he is probably a guy who feels like he has to make up for everyone else's mistakes. Even if those mistakes aren't there, he's going to be a guy who's going to try and put the team on his shoulders. And I think that's why you find him, especially the first half of the season, running around so crazy, playing other people's positions. It's like when you grow up, like we all played soccer growing up, and there's always that one guy who's trying to play everybody's position for better or for worse. And I think maybe that's Connor Ronan, but not in the bad way that your friend did when you played when you were a kid. It's more of like a responsibility thing that he feels he's got to do it. I could be way off on that take. But that's my take on Ronan, looking at, it's just like this team was a mess most of the season. So I feel like watching him run around is maybe him trying to feel like, crap, I think people are expecting me to be the future captain of this team.
Yep.
So I need to kind of put this on myself and take care of it. And that ended up in a lot of bad plays,
defensively especially.
It's admirable, but it's also kind of a mistake. Like you mentioned, it costs us as much as it hurts us.
It makes sense. He's a Pisces, which
So
means
am I.
I don't know anything about zodiac signs, but I thought I'd take a bit from Susie where she just says zodiac signs randomly. But regardless, I think Ronan is one of those guys that Heist said is going to be a centerpiece for this team going forward. MVP of the season, according to the Rapids. He got voted by, I think, the players, right?
The players voted him, yeah.
Clearly, he's a leader in this team already. People love him. They think he's going to be... He's the hottest thing right now for the Rapids. Rapids nominate Mombi.
That Connor Ronan is so hot right now.
His hair's on fire, literally. But I think at the end of the day, Ronan played really, really well. But I just don't think it was good enough to be an A because there's more facets to this game than just being an offensive player. You also got to be defensive. And how you said, they're playing him in the wrong spot. But if you're in that spot, you got to be more aware of what position you're playing.
And you have to be in that wrong spot.
Yeah. And
even if it's the wrong one, you need to stay in it.
Exactly. Yeah. And it might not be your fault, but you still get graded on what you're supposed to do, not what you like to do. All right. And the last guy we're going to talk about, sweet baby Cole Bassett. We ended up giving him a B, which I was kind of surprised, but at the same time thought it was fair. You gave him, I think, a B plus. Was it, Duane?
Did I?
B minus.
Okay.
So wow,
Yeah.
that means that I gave him a B plus.
That means you gave him the B
Wow,
plus.
I'm so nice. Being from Colorado really helps you out, guys. Go in and be better. Be from Colorado. So the thing with Cole, the reason I gave him such a high grade was because I think he turned it on. I think all year long, his mentality was there. Not the production wasn't, but he had some bangers.
Yep.
That Nashville goal was a banger. That goal that he almost had against Columbus. No, that Columbus goal was a banger. And that goal he almost had against Nashville was a banger.
Yep.
And I think that he deserves it. I think he deserves a B plus for me at least, and it averaged out to be a B. Because all year long, he wanted to be that leader, and he was trying. You could tell that he was trying to be the guy. He took responsibility and came around and said, hey, I'm doing all the pressers. Team is losing. It's my fault. Let me go out there and put my face on this team. And I think that's very admirable. And it has nothing to do with nothing on the pitch. But to me, that really elevates it because he tried and it just didn't click until the end of the year.
Yeah, and the reason it wasn't higher for me is because a half to 2/3 of the season were not very good for Cole. It was a lot of being invisible for the wrong reasons. And we talked about that a lot throughout the season, the first half of the season. The play was not great. It didn't seem like he wanted to be here. I don't know if that was, Europe hangover, or maybe he was sad to be back at the Rapids after being in Europe. And this is not a slam on the Rapids. I mean, but who wouldn't be? You're a young kid. You get to go to Europe and play, and then you find yourself back home. That's obvious. Nobody wants that, and then that doesn't have to be the Rapids. That could be any MLS team.
Yeah, of course.
If you're from the States, you want to go to Europe and play, and so when that doesn't work out, I think there was a bit of a hangover there. B-Ray mentioned it in the comments. Like, I don't think his attitude was super great at the beginning of the season. He came off as kind of a little down, maybe a little mopey. And again, I think it was, it could have been, that having to come back from Europe. Where it changed, because this grade could have been a lot lower for me. But like you said, he turned it on in the last third of the season, not only on the pitch. Like we know the free kick, the little back heel goal. There's some great goals that he put together at the end of the season. And so he became very visible, not just visible, but the guy to watch on the pitch for the Rapids. So that elevated, we need to see it the whole season, but we got, a third of the season as far as looking at actual Cole on the pitch. The reason that this lifts up higher, and I think lifts him up to a B or B plus, for you, is not what happened on the pitch, but where he developed as a leader. He came in that, presser at the very beginning of the year saying he's one of the leaders of this team, and then we didn't see it.
Yep.
And it was like, man, this is a letdown. Like he talked a big game and didn't show up. When he came, towards the end of the season and started taking all of those pressers and started being very upfront, very authentic with the fans and with his answers in those pressers, like, we knew that whatever it was, that leadership switch in Cole flipped.
Yeah.
And he became the guy that we've been wanting Cole to be ever since he was a kid that first came onto the team. Like, Cole is, if he stays with the team, Cole is going to be one of those Drew Moore guys.
Oh, of course.
He's just going to be the guy that when you think of Colorado Rapids, when you think of a player wearing burgundy, you're going to think Cole Bassett because he represents what this squad actually is. And I think that's where, I've always been a Cole fan, but now it's like I'm like a Cole Bassett fan, not just the player anymore, like Cole Bassett, the guy and the leader. I'm excited for what he's going to do for the future of the club.
I'm also really excited for him. We're talking like on the pitch, his physicality, how physical he got at the end of the season.
Yeah.
How he was willing to like bump shoulders, like bite shoulders.
He's not a little guy.
He might have bit some kneecaps on the way down.
As he should.
Honestly, like that guy, dude, became such a monster on the pitch where I could tell that the other team was like, hey, keep an eye out. Hey, he's running to the right. Hey, keep 23 on check. Hey, keep him on check. And that's so important because you distract the defense at that point.
Yep.
But not just when you're playing offense, but when you're defending and the other team is like, hey, that guy's physical, kind of push out to the left, push out to the right, don't let him knock you out the ball. It becomes such a mental game as well within the game that it changes the other team's full game plan of how they want to do things.
He's becoming a nuisance. And that's what you want.
Yeah. And then I think that's why that pairing with Ronan worked so well when they played him as late, because he became so physical where it allowed Ronan to push up. And then when he wanted to push up, Ronan's like, oh, that's fine. I know he's going to recover with me. And it allowed everything to become such become symmetric all the way around. It became harmonic, and it just became a beautiful thing to watch in that midfield specifically. Now, if you get a pure 10, a shadow striker, somebody that a center forward that can play that 10 role and be a double striker next to Navarro or whoever is up there next year, I think that's going to be a lethal midfield.
Yep.
And that's going to be the best part about the Rapids going forward if they can keep them two together with a guy like Priso coming in and becoming a bruiser here and there. Priso's kind of the enforcer, it feels like.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like he's the guy in the trenches, and if he gets it to where it can be consistent, like he is. He's going to be that enforcer. He's going to be that physical knock you down kind of guy. Yeah. You know, and that's real bad for offense for the other team.
Yeah, and that's true. The attitude also, B-Ray was saying the attitude at the beginning, how he said was not great.
Yep.
But it did improve. And
it's 180, like a total different.
And he also, like, come on, let's be honest, like, he was trying very hard on a very lackluster team where after playing in Europe and knowing how to play in Europe, and then you come here and this team is struggling in every facet, it gets frustrating.
Yeah.
And he's a young kid, 22,
and it's
23.
a weird situation because he's not new to the club.
No.
It'd be different if he was a Connor Ronan where he's brand new and he can say whatever he wants because no one knows who he is, you know, but it just adds another layer to the Cole Bassett lore, is that, you know, he started here, went away, came back, you know, on good terms, not in he's 35 and, you know, he's coming to the Rapids to retire. You know, it's not that. He's young and still in his, you know, growing into his prime. So it was a weird way to come back in a good way.
Yeah, and again, I have great expectations for Cole, and I think
do too.
I think he's going to become the player that we all wanted him to be. And I think next year's really going to show. Before we continue, because we're done with grading, overall was a C. I thought we were very insightful. I thought we were great. We're the best people to do this, and nobody can beat us. Don't come at me on Twitter, please. I want to tell you about being a diehard.
Tell me about being a diehard.
A diehard means dying for your team.
Wow,
but not
that
just
seems
dying
violent.
for your team. It means living every little moment like it's the last moment you'll ever see this team. And being a diehard is so great, and especially being a diehard at DNVR is even better. When you become a diehard at DNVR, you're starting to become part of a community that feels the exact same way, and it's loving every Denver sports team, and it's just fun. We do so many events. We do Rapids takeovers. We had a Nuggets takeover this past weekend. We're doing Avalanche. Hey, who knows? We have Joe Sakic and Peter Forsberg. There could be an event going up with them coming up soon. We don't know that. Well, I'm not saying anything. I haven't heard anything, but it's possible
I
now.
know that they might be here in the studio today at 2 o'clock.
And I mean, these are kind of cool things that you get to do. You also get exclusive merch drop. You get a bunch of fun, cool things every year when you sign up to be a diehard. Exclusive articles, exclusive podcasts. You get the list, which is incredible, by the way. He does a great job of breaking down film. And being a diehard is just the best part of being a diehard. Being a DNVR diehard is the best part of being a diehard, honestly.
Yeah, so it's truly the pinnacle of the community that we've been building here at DNVR, and man, those takeovers are wild. Yeah, you know, and it's just, you get a discount to that, and just riding on the bus and getting there and just being out of your mind. Hooliganism, you know, silliness.
Yeah, y'all last year on that takeover bus was lit with the capital LIT, lit. I was dancing on that. I wish I had a stripper pole. That would have been fun. But become a diehard, and you get a free shirt every year. Once it renews, you get a free shirt, which is great. You get an exclusive,
hat, you know, whatever. It's your credit to use as you like.
And you also get a little gift, card,
membership card
that says like you are a diehard. So you are a card carrying member of the DNVR club.
Yep.
I'll tell you this right now. If you're listening to the show and you find me at the bar and you can show me your diehard membership, I'll buy you a beer.
Oh,
so become a diehard and you can get a Breck brew from us, from me specifically, because that's one of the dopest things that you can do. All right, so now we're gonna move on to a little bit all over the league. But before we do, a friend of the show, Tom Bogert, tweeted something about the Rapids. He had an AMA yesterday, and I thought it was very interesting. Can you pull up the tweet for us real quick, Alyssa? Jason Maxwell, Rapids Jason on Twitter, a lot of you guys know him, asked him, Who do you think the Rapids are going to hire as coach? Tom Bogert responds, conventional wisdom would say Armas, based on what I know. Not knowing 2 of the 4 finalists, I stress I do not take this even close to fact. How do you feel about that, Duane?
I mean, translating conventional wisdom would say Armas would be, that is the most Rapids thing ever, is basically what he's saying. But, he's also saying don't take any of that as even close to facts. He doesn't know who the other finalists are. But yeah, I mean, we've talked about this all week since the news about Armas came out. What would be the most Rapids hire out of all of these? And, what would just fuel the Twitter rage to a level unseen before, when we already thought it was peaked? It would be hiring Armas.
And that was my coach. That was my biggest takeaway from this tweet wasn't that he said Armas. It was like what he said right before Armas. Conventional wisdom would be that they're hiring the coach with the worst track record.
Yep.
And that's the part that kind of really hurt me. Not the part that he's saying Armas, because I get that like he doesn't know, he's not reporting on anything. It's his opinion. But there's a really well-informed guy that knows soccer and knows how teams run. And it knows each little quirk of each team. So he knows the quirks of the Rapids. He knows what the Rapids like to do and they don't like to do. And him saying Armas made me sad. Not because it's foregone conclusion. It makes me sad because that's where the Rapids are at this point. Where the worst candidate that nobody wants in the league
could be the guy they hire.
Because everybody expects him to. Real quick on Armas, I did do a little breakdown on him. With the New York Red Bulls, he was there from 2018 to 2020. First year he was in charge. 71 points, 62 goals, plus 29 goal differential. Shield winners, eliminated in conference finals. Great. You're like, give me that guy.
Yeah, that's great.
Little asterisk. Jesse Marsh was the guy that built that team, ran that team, and he just took over it and became great. 2019, steep drop off. 48 points, 53 goals, plus 2 goal differential, which means
a difference of 27.
His defense was atrocious with Long in there. Eliminated in the first round. Not great. 2020, eliminated in group stage of MLS's back turning. With Toronto FC, because Toronto's like, we'll give him a shot. He did okay for a year. 11 games, 1 win, 8 losses, 2 draws, fired. That's the guy that the Rapids are bringing in. And then he has like big clubs under his belt. Looking at Man U, looking at he was also in Leeds. So he has some European experience. But I don't care because he was an assistant. And those teams sucked anyways. Leeds got relegated. Man U wasn't good. So what's the point of bringing him in?
Man, I'm telling you, Armas reeks of Anthony Hudson.
Yeah, Peter says he's Fraser 2.0, and that's not true at all.
Yeah, Fraser came in actually with a good resume and actually a pretty decent track record. When Hudson came in, he had one of the worst resumes I've ever seen. The fact that he even got an interview was surprising to me. And at the time, they kept pointing to like the one good season he had in that global soccer powerhouse of Oceania.
Do you know their fight song?
Well, I'm just talking about the league. I don't know if the league has a fight song, but it's probably not all that.
Real quick, Oceania versus Ocean's 11. Who are you taking?
Ocean's 11 every time.
I'll take
Ocean's starting 11 is
it's star-studded to say the least.
But it's the same thing. There was that one season that was pretty good, and every other season after that was not what you want your team. Like any of those other seasons, if that happened to the Rapids, we would all be super bummed out. We've said it on the show last year and this year. Like, people show you who they are. Armas has shown us who he is with his record. With how things have worked out, both in Europe and in the States. Aside from the one season that he inherited a really great team, it's not been great. So We'll see. We don't know what's going to happen. We don't even have any clues of how things are going, other than the decision is happening soon. So, boy, I hope that's not the one.
Yeah, I mean, again,
it's not Portland, but it's not great.
Again, I'm not saying that Bogert is reporting on this, because he's not. Tommy Scoops is not. He made it very clear. It's not a fact. It's an opinion.
Oh, yeah.
I want to make that clear.
He's just saying based on the Rapids track record
exactly
of hiring coaches. That's what wisdom means, is you look at the past and you understand how the future is going to go.
Exactly.
And that's it.
And I want to stress that so much, because I know there's always going to run with it. But I'm trying to tell you, that hurt the most. The wisdom part hurt the most. All right. For the last 5-10 minutes, I want to talk to you about a little thing that's going on right now in the MLS called the MLS Playoffs.
Woo!
I want to ask you, what are your big 3 takeaways from the MLS Playoffs right now?
It's as fun as Leagues Cup.
Okay.
All of the craziness of Leagues Cup is now happening in the playoffs, which is really fun. The timing stinks for me, because I've not been able to watch as much as I want when the games are.
Kind of in the same boat here.
So that's an unfortunate take for it. And then the upsets are on, man.
Mm-hmm.
Like St. Louis is bounced. I thought Houston was an easy sweep over RSL. RSL goes to a perfect PK run in overtime, and now we're knotted up. And I still think Houston's going to win, but now I'm just kind of like, I don't know.
It's like where it was like
there's a chance,
80-20 chance that Houston won. Now it's like, oh shit, it's kind of 50-50.
It might be, it might be 50-50 now. So I've enjoyed all the surprises. The things that are not surprising. LAFC and Cincinnati are already through. Thing that was surprising, Columbus. I really thought was going to just march right on in. They're struggling.
It's the playoffs, baby.
Yeah,
like, everybody wants it. Like, once you just get into the dance, and anything can happen.
I mean, Orlando is moving on. You know, they're kind of that get hot at the end of the season, and now it's still going into the playoffs.
Which was
knocking
like a
off
very
Nashville.
popular pick in our chat a couple of weeks ago. I remember.
Yeah,
people
I think a lot of us picked Orlando to stay hot, and they have. So good pick, chat.
The one I have 2 major takeaways from this. And the first one is Mexicans are ruling this league right now.
Mexicans are
ruling the MLS playoffs right now.
Oh, yeah.
You have Carlos Vela with IFC. You have Brandon Vasquez, which is Mexican American, but I count him. You have Hector Herrera out here in Pulido, Alan Pulido out in KC. Those 4 guys are tearing it up for their teams right now. I think Argentinians and Mexicans are the 2 biggest contingencies, not from America in this
MLS,
league. When it comes to our players, at least. And it's so fun kind of seeing them go back and forth a little bit. You do have like the Luchos and all that playing with like that Argentinian flair, which is very different from the Mexican flair, VC style of play. My second takeaway is I don't know how I feel about the format.
Yeah, it's so far people seem very down on it.
But me personally, like, I don't know whether I like it or not. I get things like upsets because it's the best of 3. And I'm like, oh, that's awesome. Like, give me that more, you know? But then I get like, oh, we're still in the first round. like when is it over? Like,
yeah, there's something to be enjoyed about just knockout rounds, you know, and
single elimination.
And it seems weird and some of these series have proven this statement wrong already. It seems weird to have the worst matchups go the longest.
Yeah.
Usually first round is a very good team versus a bottom team because that's how it shakes out in the bracket. So why would you want to watch that 3 times?
That's true.
So I would rather watch like the final 3 times where there's 2 very good teams squaring off. So it's weird to do that. I mean, as a Rapids fan, where I could count home playoff games on one hand that I've been able to see. I wouldn't even need that whole hand. You
We'll
know,
top off
like
the rest.
I do see the advantage of being able to see your team with a home playoff game, which is something we don't get very often.
But the world kind of already discovered the perfect fix for that, which is the one home, one away. Everybody 1-1. But you got the global score.
And then aggregate.
Yeah, aggregate.
Yeah.
Like you got the who scored the most. Those are fun because that becomes math, and you're like, oh, we need 2 more
I
goals.
hate aggregate.
I love aggregate. Aggregate to me is one of the funnest things in soccer.
I realize I'm way in the minority on that, but I can't stand aggregate.
And I get it. It's math. You hate stats. We've talked about this right before the show. But I love the aggregate. I think aggregate should be the way the MLS goes. Because
it used to be that way.
Yeah, and I loved it. That was my favorite part of it. I just don't like that they went away from it. And I will give credit for the MLS. They're experimenting. They're trying to get things out there. Trying to have some fun with it. And I think that's great. But I still think that it should be 1-1 aggregate. I do like they're trying to expand the playoffs. I thought the playoffs last year were too quick. I felt like I didn't get to enjoy them. This year it feels like I'm enjoying them too much.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest
Plus
issue.
we've had 2 other tournaments,
Yeah.
So it might be a bit much, not for the playoffs itself, but when you look at the MLS season as a whole, when you've had US Open Cup, and then you have Leagues Cup, and then you have the regular season, and then you have an extended playoffs. That's where it starts to feel really long.
It's just
really long.
And again, I'm all for more soccer. I love it.
Sure.
It's all,
but when your team's not in it, it's rough.
tired.
Like as a Rapids fan, this whole thing sucks because it's like, thankfully Leagues Cup was just chaos, and so it became fun to watch. Because I'm not a watch soccer for the sake of watching soccer guy. I want to watch my team and that's it. But Leagues Cup, there was so much chaos that I really enjoyed just watching, random teams play. And I've done a little bit of that, in the playoffs so far because the games, but not from the beginning. Yeah. It's been because something on Twitter, people are like, oh my God, are you watching, this Houston game's bananas right now. And so it's like, oh, maybe I'll tune in, you know? And so it's not like a scheduled thing. It's more of like something's crazy happening. So maybe I'll turn it on now.
So gun to head, you've seen a few playoff games now. We have a few winners that go on. Who wins? Who wins the whole thing?
Oh, gosh. I was all in on Columbus and Houston. We're seeing them struggle a little bit now.
Philly too, man, with Kai Wagner.
Philly, yeah. I didn't pick Philly to get to the final anyway.
I did. And do I look bad right now?
I mean, Cincy sure seems unbeatable right now. Like, gun to head, like, I have to choose the right or be sad. If I had to bet and risk losing a bunch of money, it's probably Cincy. If I'm going with who I think gets the gritty win and still makes it happen, I still think it's Columbus.
Yeah. I will say that I think it'll be
it's Ohio. Something's happening out of Ohio.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be Cincy. Cincy as well, but I think LAFC is gonna be right up there. LAFC is just too much star power, too much things going on for it. I do see a world where Orlando picks up the Open Cup last year and then the MLS Cup this year, and they become the unheralded team of Florida, which would be dope because it's like, oh man, screw you. Like,
until Messi.
Yeah, well, no, that's the whole thing. It's like, you want to cheer for Inter Miami, you got one Leagues Cup, we got an Open Cup and an MLS Cup. And it'll be like the hipster thing to do if you want to cheer against Messi. All those Ronaldo fans out there are going to be like, oh yeah, Orlando.
We're going to be Orlando now is the hipster. Yeah. Wow, that would be something.
So I kind of feel like that's if Orlando wins, they're the new fun.
They're going to need a new logo if they're going to go hipster.
They needed a new logo regardless.
I know they did.
Whether they go hipster or not, they need a new logo. They suck so much. All right, guys, that will do it for us today. I thought we had a great show, probably the best show we've ever had until the next show we do.
Best show ever until next week.
Hey, the one thing is we always have to one up ourselves, right? We can only be better than ourselves. Thank you very much, guys, for everybody in the chat. We really appreciate it. Give us a thumbs up in the video. We'd really appreciate it. Follow us on socials. We'd really appreciate that too. I say appreciate a lot. I'm just realizing that.
You're an appreciative guy.
I am. I'm very grateful. And give us a podcast review on Apple or Spotify or anything. We'd really appreciate that as well. And I said it again. Doing anything to plug?
Yeah, 2:00 today, man. If you are an Avs fan, tune in to the Avs show at 2:00. We've got Joe Sakic and Peter Forsberg live on set with us. That's going to be an awesome show. Yeah, 2 Avs legends on site. So tune
Avs
into
legends
that.
or hockey legends?
Hockey legends.
Literally.
I mean, both. It's those guys are just Hall of Fame legendary dudes. So anyway, if you're an Avs fan, get into there, catch that show. It's going to be a lot of fun. Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much. Once again, I appreciate you all. And,
yeah, he does.
Have a good day, guys. Peace out. Oh, wait.
Oh my gosh, he almost forgot it. What is going on right now?
I don't host this enough. I'm sorry,
Wow.
guys. I almost ended it with an appreciation post.
I almost turned into the worst show ever.
It will never be the worst show ever. I know which one that is, but I won't say it out loud. More importantly than all, up the kids.
We all silly like the mayor.